Welcome to another edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career and Outreach Coordinator at the KU School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Today we are joined by Ashley Bowen-Cook, the President of the Greteman Group. Welcome, Ashley.
Hello, Steve. Thanks for having me.
And I should note, Ashley's in Wichita. She's been president a little over a year. How's the president life been going? Have you changed a lot of things at the Greteman Group, or is everything just moving along smoothly?
Great question. Well, we are, I would say, moving along just smoothly. I've been here at the agency for 21 years, and so it wasn't, taking on anything majorly new other than shifting my role to focus more on operations and kind of the bigger picture. I already worked on business development and strategy with our clients.
And becoming president, did you have to actually apply for that? I know you've had some new responsibility, or did Sonia just say, hey, Ashley, it's time. Are you ready to take on new responsibility? How did that kind of come about?
So, no, I did not have to apply for the position. We'd been talking about this transition for several years, and it was just the right time to finally make it happen. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity that she's given me and that she is trusting me to take this amazing agency that she's created and, keep evolving it into the future.
And I was looking at some of your job titles you've had. Account executive, I think you started brand director, associate VP brand director, and a VP brand director. I would guess the president was kind of the next natural step for you, and you were ready to take on that challenge?
I was, yes. I mean, I think if you're ever completely ready for something, then you might need to rethink what you're doing. So there always should be a little bit of trepidation in that next step, right? To create just a little bit of excitement and nervousness, and can I really do this? But I think, I felt confident in my abilities, and Sonia did as well. And we have a team that has been together a long time as well. And so it was just a pretty natural transition with the whole team.
And I think I saw the Greteman Group, you just celebrated your 35th anniversary?
Correct.
Did you do anything special for that? I know 35 isn't the sexy milestone, but I always like to celebrate milestones. Did you celebrate at all?
We're all about celebrating the small wins, and even those not, necessarily milestone anniversaries, but I mean, 35 is a big deal, right? No matter what in business, to make it 35 years is certainly an accomplishment, and that business has changed significantly over the years. And so we were excited. We put together a video and put it out on social media, just showing some of our work over the years and just how diverse it's been.
And I know we were talking briefly right before we went live here, just how your career has evolved, in over 20 years. I mean, I know direct mail was a big part of what you had to do early on, but can you just talk about how it's evolved in 20 years? And I mean, I assume you still do direct mail, but you've added so much more to that.
Yes. So yes, to your point, yes, direct mail with a fax form was, the golden ticket when I first started, and it has absolutely changed. I mean, the amount of printing that's done anymore, I think, just in the interest of being environmentally sound, and also at some point, it was just almost became clutter, and people started changing to digital to really convey their information. And it's funny, how things come back around. It seems like now direct mail comes back around because you are so inundated with digital information and your email inbox being just filled, that if a direct mail lands on your desk now, all of a sudden it gets more attention, but now there's more trackability. It probably has a QR code on it. It probably has some social channels. It might have a landing page that they want you to engage with. So it's kind of combining the best of both worlds.
In your role as president, do you do a lot with attracting new business and making presentations, or what's been kind of the biggest change, I guess, in that past year for you?
Yes. So I've been handling new business for the agency for a little over 10 years. And I think what has changed, of course, it used to be going to a trade show, going to different local events to generate new business was kind of the primary driver. And then you would, have some follow-up phone calls and such. And of course, 2020 hits and everything has to go virtual. And I would say the majority of our new clients since 2020, we may never even have an encounter with them in person. It may be all over Zoom and a series of Zoom calls that lead up to doing the work. And then we have weekly check-ins with them. And, that's how we run the relationship. And then if we get to finally meet them in person at some kind of event, that's great. But, I think people have just looked at the way they still want that personal interaction, but they're okay if it comes in a slightly different format than before.
And what was that 2020, 21, I guess part of 22, that time for you? I mean, did you have to kind of reset, or did you maintain all your clients, or what was that period like?
We were very fortunate in that we retained our clients during that time. So we serve primarily business aviation. We also do a little bit of commercial aviation and drone work as well. But aviation comprises about 85% of our business, if not a little bit more. Okay. And we were fortunate in that business aviation actually had a bit of a surge during when COVID hit. And so suddenly these salespeople who were used to spending a large amount of their budget traveling to make face-to-face deals already had this money accounted for in their budget, and they were able to shift it over to marketing. And we were really able to make some traction for them just with the marketplace the way it was, as well as some additional visibility. And so it turned out to be a positive time for most of our clients.
And before you joined the Greteman Group, I didn't realize this until I was doing some research. You've been around aviation for quite some time. I know your father's aviation photographer. So joining Greteman Group, I would assume that was kind of a natural fit at the time, just because of your background?
Yes. So I was actually a client of Greteman Groups before I joined the agency. I'm originally from Wichita, went to live in Dallas for a few years. And when my husband and I decided to move back here, I was already a client of Greteman Group. And I said, hey, have you guys, heard of any openings locally? I need to find something when I come back to Wichita. And they thought about it, and they called me back and said, hey, do you want to just come and take over your own account on this side? And so I took over my own account from the business that I had worked for, Bombardier FlexJet.
And in Dallas, you did some events coordinating for a while too, right?
I did.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think, I know as a career advisor, I work with some students and they kind of see a job description for events coordinator. And I think those are great places to start because of the logistics part of it. You're doing pretty much everything: marketing, fundraising, networking. Did you see a lot of value in just starting your career in that area?
Oh, it was wonderful. I loved that job, especially for that time in my life. I was traveling on a regular basis. I was, working with airplanes and coordinating what we called static displays, where you put the aircraft out at an airport for people to come and look at them. And it was a way for me to basically combine things that I love: aviation, travel, getting to meet new people. It was great networking opportunity. I still have some of those relationships to this day with people who have remained in aviation, and even those that haven't.
And I think I saw on a podcast you did earlier, when you were at KU, you didn't know exactly what you wanted to do, but then your dad said, what, you like to talk, so he thought you should go that direction. Is that right?
Yes, that pretty much sums it up. Okay. Yes. So my dad, it was my dad who really encouraged me to go to KU to begin with. And going into my junior year, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And he said, why don't you look at the School of Journalism? There are different opportunities there. And he actually was encouraging me at the time. It was called business communications was the emphasis. And so basically media relations, public relations. And he knew some people that he worked with that were in that arena, and he thought that that might be a good stepping stone.
So did you have any KU connection before that? I mean, was your dad connected to KU in any way?
No, my dad grew up in California and went to the University of California, Santa Barbara. So it was just, he moved from California to Wichita in the 70s. And so when it came time, I am the first female to graduate college in my family. And so, I always knew I was going to go to college. It was just a matter of where. And my dad took me on a tour of KU with a good friend of mine, and I fell in love with it, and he loved it up there, and so that's how I ended up being a Jayhawk.
And while you were a student, did you have time to participate in any sort of clubs, extracurricular activities, or was it pretty much school and part-time jobs?
I was in a sorority. I was Kappa Kappa Gamma, and which was a great experience. Loved that. Still have dear friends from that to this day. And then my last semester, I studied abroad, which was a phenomenal experience that I would encourage any student to do.
And where'd you go for that study abroad experience?
I did the Western Civ program, which I don't even know if that still exists now. So it was, so I decided to do all my requirements up until my very last semester. And so my last semester was my study abroad semester. So I walked in May of 2020. Okay. And then I came home, did my internship for the summer at Learjet, and then got on a plane and lived for half a semester in Paris and half a semester in Florence, Italy.
Oh, wow. And you're talking about being the first female in your family to graduate. I think I also saw recently you became the first female chair of the Wichita Aero Club. What's that like? I mean, in the air capital of the world, that sounds tremendous.
Well, it's a real honor. I've been involved with the club since it began, and 15 years ago, and it's a great networking opportunity, educational opportunity. We support STEM education within the community with our fundraisers, and so to be asked to be the board chair was certainly an honor. And when I first started in aviation, it was certainly dominated by men. And I think there are still probably majority men, but there have definitely been an influx of females in the industry, in the last 25 years, which has been great.
And I know another thing that's really developed in the last, decade or so in the industry is like the data that's available. I think I saw somewhere where you're a big believer in data, and I totally get that. How do you kind of find that balance between, data, but kind of that traditional gut, if it just doesn't feel right, I don't think we need to move forward. I mean, I would assume 21 years in the business, you've got it figured out now, but how does that balance play out between the gut and the data?
Yes, you definitely. Well, it does, because I think you can look at the data and then question it and just try and understand where it's coming from, see what lens you need to look at it through. I think there's looking at it through the lens of the marketing department, where they might want that really nitty gritty granular information. And then I try and come in and look at it more at that C-level, your CEO, CFO. What do they want to take away from this and say, a 2 to 5 minute presentation tops? And what do they want to see about how the website, the campaigns, those kinds of things have been performing, to then inform what they're going to do next with their business goals. And so I think it's taking that granular, but also taking that, high level and combining them together. And then to your point, trusting your gut. If you've been doing this long enough, some patterns to look for. And so you can start questioning some of the data based on those patterns that you just know in your gut, or you look at something and say, okay, I feel like that needs further analysis. You may not have the answer, but you can go and, find the answer through the sales team or somebody else in the marketing department.
And I know you've touched on this briefly. Relationship building. I mean, that's still a big part of marketing, right? I mean, just
Absolutely.
how do you kind of do that balance too between the relationship building and the creative? I mean, I think those two work pretty well together as well.
Yes. So relationships are key. Our agency really prides itself in the long-term relationships we have with our clients. I think, again, back to us being in an aviation niche, because we are so specialized, it allows us to have those deep relationships with our clients. They're oftentimes coming from a referral or someone we've worked at in another role who's then moved on to a new role and wants to bring us with them. So as far as I'm concerned, the relationships are key. And I mean, some of the relationships that we have with our clients go back almost 20 years.
And I know you and your husband have a young son. A lot of talk about work-life balance. How do you make that work? I know sometimes when you get pulled so many different directions. I know you have a concert to go to tonight, but how do you manage that work-life balance being a leader of a company?
Well, yes. So my husband, it's a lot of communication. I've been married to my husband, who's a wildcat. So we're in a house divided. I've been married to my husband, Josh, for 21 years. And so we're pretty good at communicating with each other and understanding what needs to be done. But we also own a business that he operates.
Okay.
So we have a lot of coordinating that has to take place to get it all to balance. We try and take turns with our son and making him a priority. And honestly, because we've both been in pretty high level positions since our son has been born, he's pretty used to, us needing to maybe take a business call during the evening, or, hey buddy, can you wait just a minute and let me answer an email, that kind of thing. But, also making sure we take the time to put the devices down and give him our undivided attention and have fun, whether it's out on the golf course or on the soccer field or fishing. Those are some of our favorite things to do together.
So do you have one of those big calendars or whiteboards where you've got all the activities lined out?
Yes, we do.
Those are lifesavers.
Yes.
Before we move on to the Fast Five, I always like to ask our alums, what kind of advice would you have, say for the class of 2024 as they look for jobs right after they graduate, especially from that marketing, strategic communication aspect?
So I think, be open to unique opportunities, get out of your comfort zone, have people skills. I think that is an ongoing challenge with younger people, being able to hold a conversation, pay attention, make eye contact, feel comfortable picking up a phone and just making a phone call. I think I've seen can even be a challenge sometimes. And so I think anybody with good communication skills is going to soar to the top. Definitely, having good social media skills, that's in such high demand. And that's always a good kind of entry level point too with a company, is social media and being able to bring some new thoughts and show that you can use those skills. And I think also it's important to figure out what you like and what you don't like. Knowing what you don't like is just as important as knowing what you like. And so I know too, which I think is really admirable of the kids coming out of school right now, is finding kind of more jobs that align with their values and their kind of passions. And so, go after that. There's no harm in reaching out to somebody and even just saying, hey, I know you don't have a job opening, but I'm super passionate about, XYZ. Would you be open to at least having a conversation with me? And you never know when that could lead to somebody creating a position for you.
No, well said, Ashley. I definitely have to share some of those tips with my professional class. So before you go, I'm going to close with Fast Five.
Okay.
So I know you've done a lot of traveling. Do you remember the first time you were on a plane and where did you go?
I don't remember the actual flight, but I was 3 or 4 and we went to Disneyland.
Okay. And when it's not involved with work, where's your favorite place to travel?
Vail, Colorado.
Oh, Colorado. So you like the
To
snow,
fly.
ski?
We like to go in the summer. I love to fly fish.
Nice. What do you think is the one interview question a new candidate should always be prepared to answer?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say, what what could they bring to the job?
Value. Yeah, big believer in that. I saw in an earlier podcast you talked about you worked at the Gap part-time, right?
I did.
Okay. And I think you mentioned the same songs were played over and over and it ruined some of the songs. What's that one song that was ruined for you forever?
Banana Rama, I think is the name of the band, like
Cruel,
Venus.
Cruel Summer, Venus. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, Cruel Summer.
Cruel Summer.
Both
Plays.
of them.
I noticed, I assume it was your son's school. You played Rosie the Riveter. Is that right?
I did.
Can you give me your best Rosie the Riveter flex?
Oh, sure.
There it is. Nice. Perfect. Hey, awesome. Thanks, Ashley. I know you're on a tight schedule. I appreciate your time. This was great advice, and we will definitely share with our students here at KU. And if you got your mug, always like to toast our alums on their great careers and great work at the Greteman Group. And let's stay in touch.
Great. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks,
Rock
Ashley.
Chuck Jayhawk.